way back further into history than what we were being taught. And I wasn't I just didn't buy this idea that nothing happened for like vast stretches of time, because it was during my course that they found that modern humans, they made this discovery in Morocco in 2017 or 2018, I think, and that was when I was at university.
Was that Denisovans?
No, Homo sapiens. So I can't remember this. It's called like the Jebel Irhoud site or something like that. But they were modern Homo sapien remains. They thought they were Neanderthal initially because they were so old.
How old were they?
They're 315,000 years old. That's kind of like the estimate. It goes up to potentially 360,000 years old. So they're super old. And yeah, they thought they were initially Neanderthal because of this age, but then they discovered a few more, and they classified them as Homo sapien. And when I saw that, I was like, how is this not kicking up more of a fuss? Because before them, the oldest Homo sapien remains we had were around 200,000 years old, and that had been the case for like a decade or something. And before that, it was like 100,000 years old. So this discovery pushed back the age of our species by another third, like 100,000 years. So I saw that, and I was thinking, like, how are we still basing our kind of idea of history around the fact that nothing happened for 310,000 years, and then everything happened in like the last 10,000 years since the Neolithic Revolution? I just thought that was odd, because we've been in this anatomically modern form for so long, and yet we were being taught that nothing had happened until the last 10,000 years, and that just didn't make sense to me. So that's kind of where I started thinking about it. And then we did this module at university, I remember, called it was called something like Cataclysms or something, and it was all about how in recorded history natural disaster had a big impact on human societies and stuff like that, and how small, like tiny changes in climate could massively disrupt human civilization and bring them all crashing down. And the case study they used was something called the Late Bronze Age collapse. Have you ever heard of the Late Bronze Age?
Yes.
Yeah, it's when all these like powerful, influential civilizations at the kind of peak of human progress around 1000 BC all simultaneously came crashing down, and no one was quite sure why it was, but the best theory we have is that it's like a kind of combination of climate factors, which led to trade disruption, which led to societal unrest, and then all these empires, like the Hittite Empire, the Syrian Empire,
why are you calling me out with no mic?
In Greece, the Egyptian New Kingdom, all within a 20 to 30, 40 year period, all came crashing down.
Okay, I'm on console, so it takes me a hot second to load in anyway, so that makes sense.
We don't even know why this happened, but it was like a half-degree change in climate. And so
I can't touch that. I'm so bad.
Research
Bumps
how
one?
Bad climate had been during history, and how bad it had been, like these big climatic episodes had been during pre-history.
Can you play? What do you mean, can I play? I am playing. Make that. What?
All these
kind of question is that?
Collapse, just a tiny half-degree change in climate, which caused drought, which led to those civilizations collapsing.
Did you shoot that? Oh.
Some of the stuff that had been happening during pre-history was so much worse than that. And that got me thinking, like, how do we know that sophisticated human culture hadn't flourished, 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, and collapsed?
Close. Going again. Going in again. Shooting. I suck! That's a goal 100% all day long, man! Fuck!
The discovery of the remains of Morocco. That really got me.
Because it's been a long night of Rocket League.
Told regarding our past and how I wasn't quite sure.
Me too, bro.
Kind of maybe initially.
There you go. Oh my God, dealerships. Holy shit. Okay, hey, yo, you're a salesman. Question for you.
What we find?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but I'm sorry to push you.
If it was a great cataclysm, like if the Younger Dryas impact theory is correct.
No, you get same here. Sub to my YouTube channel. But
what would be left? How would you find it? What would you know?
We just recently got a car from a dealership.
That's one of the things that disturbs me
and after everything was all signed, the papework and everything, I ended up, it was technically supposed to be her car, but my name ended up becoming the buyer, like on the main thing.
And then modern humans.
Yeah,
she is, but the only reason why they did it is because I'm well, no, I have no credit score. No, I have no credit score. But anywho, after everything was all said and done, they asked us for our social security card. I don't have one. I have never had one. I don't think I've ever seen it. I just know my number. And they said if something along the lines of she had hers, they took hers, did whatever they had, took her pictures, got the evidence, and then I don't have one, so it's just like if well, no, because you take the picture because you want copies and things of information of everything.
But people appreciate. And
did you ever see there was a video
I don't get my social security card. I think they said the deal doesn't go through or something because my name's basically on the card. But
that was
that takes time, doesn't it?
And Dr. Robert Schoch's ideas about the timeline, saying, you know, talking about things that existed pre 10,000 years. And he was saying, whatever, it was like laughing.
How long
what
before? I'm not trying to wait. I'm not trying to, you know, I don't want to sound sketchy or whatever. Like I'm trying to get my information out so I, you know, legal for it. But how long do I have before? How long do I have to sit?
I think.
Yeah.
Go back to tapping, which threw everything into a tizzy because now you've got something that was absolutely covered. They believe intentionally somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think Göbekli Tepe is the biggest kind of smoking gun for at least for the idea that civilization is older and more complex than the traditional model suggests. Because obviously, as you say, it's like 12,000 years old and it's massive megalithic pillars.
We bought it. No. We bought the car literally Saturday of this previous weekend. So it's so. I was trying to. I took the time over the weekend, and then it's to today's Wednesday, and I've been looking and searching, but I can't find anything. I know for a fact I don't have it, so I'm trying to figure out what good time to go, set up an appointment. But my honest opinion is, I think I'm gonna go Monday morning first thing. Finish the week out, do whatever, and then go Monday morning and take that. I know. I gotta get on it.
Thought to be the earliest civilization, so.
I just didn't know if there was a
really interesting site.
window or a time frame. Sure, I mean, I know they need it because I mean,
I'm almost certain that when enough time passes, we'll kind of look at that, and but because it's a whole culture, the whole Tashtapela culture. There's like 14 sites at least, and they all have this kind of megalithic architecture. They all have shared symbolism. They all clearly connected. Like, it's crazy how it's not defined as anything other than hunter-gatherers. And even if you think that hunter-gatherers built Göbekli Tepe, then you need to massively update the definition of what a hunter-gatherer is, because clearly they had surplus. They
if you went up for that.
These sites in their spare time. And yeah, it's a truly paradigm-shifting site. But I mean, everyone.
I haven't been locked into this game because I've been talking about this shit stressed out. But
as spectacular as what they've discovered so far is, they have only unearthed 5% of it, which is even more bizarre. Because you've got so much stuff that's underground, you have no idea what's on those pillars. You know, there's speculation that one of the pillars from Göbekli Tepe that is unearthed is some sort of a calendar of events. And they believe that it depicts some sort of a disaster. Like that these...
Your first game should be my last, technically.
These images to
hit me up if you want,
be associated with either
no, you're good. I'll play like one or two
more. There's a timeline that's inscribed in these pillars.
Yeah, there's like a study that was written or a paper that was written, and they think it's pillar 43,
Jesus.
I think it is.
Okay, game, calm down. Jesus Christ.
Almost a prediction model of an impact that could happen or already has happened, and it's like a warning for the future. That is still disputed, but I mean, there's been good research that's done into that suggests that's what it is, and it's certainly a site that has cosmic alignments and kind of has been built with the stars in mind. Which is something we can say about so many ancient sites around the world, which is another thing that isn't really considered by, you know, quote-unquote mainstream archaeology perhaps as much as it should be. So yeah, it's a fascinating site, and I really think it displays a lot
you don't mean it in party chat. Duh. I'm sorry, I'm tired and slightly cross-faded here.
People get a bit stuck with the word
you said
this a very narrow definition of what civilization is, and it's basically based on the old model
fuck that guy.
Mesopotamia.
Oh, there you are. And your life too. Yeah, what's up, live stream? Shit.
Civilization for so long, and constructed this whole idea about what the civilization is. Purely based on
you're so professional over there. You're so professional. Holy shit.
Just one civilization, and just because that was the earliest one we found for a long time and still is thought of as such, doesn't mean that that's the only way that humanity can flourish. Because
alright, Donald. Alright, Donald.
We do different things, and we're clever in different ways, and we, you know, change to different environments. And that definition has really kept a lot of people kind of boxed in when thinking about how sophisticated human culture could flourish in different places, in different environments, with different pressures. And I think that's kind of force people to not consider what other possibilities are.
So I can at least do some things. And
I think it's even more fascinating if you consider the fact that ancient Sumer and that part of the world from about 6,000 years ago is where they're sort of hanging their hat, saying that this is the birthplace of civilization. But if you do have this evidence of Göbekli Tepe, and then we are talking about some sort of an ancient civilization that lived 12,000 years ago, like what happened? What happened? Like what was the gap between that and then it took 6,000 years before they started civilization back up again? Sort of a reimagining of civilization, which makes you really, at least makes me really consider the possibility of a cataclysm, because if the people that survive, whatever they would be, they'd probably be living off the land, they'd probably be barely getting by, and barbaric for a long time. And if it really took 6,000 years to kind of like settle down again, that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it all ties into this idea that we've had that agriculture leads to civilization, but there's that bizarre thing that, agriculture appears in multiple different places at pretty much the exact same time all over the world. And that's never made sense to me, because if agriculture was such a vital invention for civilization to flourish, then why did no one invent it?
Shot.
310,000 years.
Right.
And then in South America,
did a little dirty word.
in ancient China, and you could argue there's other different places. So say there's like South America and there's Central America. You could argue that's potentially connected, but a lot of people say it isn't. So how can agriculture, if it's such an incredible invention, be
You got that all day.
invented by multiple people at the same time, and then but no
Where
one else
left?
thought of it before? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense they
Teammate?
wouldn't figure out seeds.
One more?
Like how do you not know eventually that these seeds are
I scored it.
dropping,
Cool.
and then you see seedlings that are coming out of the ground. Just
We all know what I was trying to do there, right?
An easy connection. And then you'd say, oh well, if we gather these seeds and go plant them over there, maybe we can get some fruit trees over here.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, it worked.
So I
Like,
started
that
a train.
That seems like you figured that out in one
I
life.
did, bro.
I know it's odd, but I think the
Got you,
idea
bro.
is the idea always
Got
has
you,
been
bro.
that it's because of the climate.
If anyone is wanting,
began around 12,000 years ago. As we came out of that, we had kind of stable climate conditions.
if anyone's wondering, my YouTube channel is Irish
That's what
Elmer.
enabled the invention of
Same as my
agriculture.
Twitch.
But then the question I always ask is,
It's just all
what
one word.
about
The voice on the left
If,
it doesn't it doesn't have the dash
climate led to
for
agriculture,
YouTube and
then
Twitch.
Why couldn't such a thing have happened in the Eemian period?
I am
like
getting my
20,000
shit pushed in right now.
There's been
Oh my
4
god, I'm too.
distinct warm
Look.
periods that have lasted for like over 10,000 years.
Oh
While
nah, what do you mean?
modern
Oh
humans have been
nah,
around.
what are you
At least,
talking
obviously,
about?
These Morocco remains of Homo
Sorry,
sapiens.
Braxton. I'll lock
It's
in.
unlikely
My
they're
bad.
the earliest Homo
We'll get it
sapiens
over here.
ever.
30 seconds.
They're just
30
the
seconds.
earliest we've found, so we could be even older than that. So, considering we've been through 4
That's in?
distinct
Nope.
warm periods before the
Mid?
Holocene, and if the argument is
See you
that
being bumped
the
over there.
Holocene was what led to
Do
the
what you can, do what you
invention
can.
of agriculture due to the stable climate, then why couldn't
That's a
it
great
have happened
pass, I'm just
in the
not there.
earlier warm periods? That's the question I've always asked myself and been fascinated by.
And the real problem is there would be very little evidence, if any.
Yeah, so this is the preservation problem, and this is something I talk about in my videos. So I kind of always ask the question, like, what if human culture had flourished in the Eemian, for example, which was from 130 to 115,000 years ago? What realistically would survive? Because it's such a vast length of time that it's really unlikely,
grab
at least
mid
as far
here.
as I can tell. And obviously, I'm not a scientist. I'm not like a materialist. I'm not any kind of. I'm just a guy. I'm not even a historian technically. But as far as I can tell, it's extremely hard for any materials, but even our modern
I don't
materials, in
touch
our
that.
huge civilization that 8 billion people, industrial society, sending rockets to space, all the crazy stuff that we're doing. Even us, if we disappeared tomorrow, I think it would be extremely unlikely that pretty much anything would survive when you get up to these huge timescales of like 100,000 years. And so I've been doing quite a lot of research into this. And
They're gonna
I
make
don't-
mistakes.
I obviously don't want to get things wrong and put falsehoods out there and mislead people. Like, I don't want to look like a dickhead in front of like like millions of people or whatever. So I've been trying to debunk myself or play devil's advocate to myself on this point, because that's the best way to make your argument airtight, and no one's really out there debunking me. I don't know if that's because I'm right, or because like no one knows me. Maybe that would change after a show like this, but
Oh, what am I doing,
I've
man?
been really looking into the kind of
Minute 18,
degradation
we got
of
time.
the materials as much as I can, and trying
Mid.
to work out
Oh, you're
how
dead.
much would survive from a civilization like ours if we disappeared tomorrow in 100,000 years' time. So if you,
Right, like someplace like London or Manhattan. Like what would be left in 100,000 years?
yeah, of like an actual modern
We can do
city.
this, come on.
And
We just
the
need one.
scary truth is it's almost nothing. Like there are,
Really?
as far as I can tell, and obviously
Cement buildings, they would just deteriorate?
they would go like concrete would crack and you get CO2 in there and freeze thaw weathering, and over
Mid.
these huge timescales of like 5,000 years, 10,000
Damn it.
years, it would just crumble down into dust and be absolutely imperceptible.
Just 10,000 years.
I think so. Obviously these, I mean, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I haven't got any notes in front of me or anything, but as far as I can tell from my research, it's gonna be a few
Nice
like
pass.
10,000
Nice pass.
years,
There's
20,000
one.
years max. It's not
my
gonna get up to
second
these
game on, right?
timescales of 100,000 years.
So if
think
you
it DC
do
last season for the
add
first
in,
time in
if
2
you
years.
think about what
Nice,
Manhattan would look like in
congratulations.
100,000 years,
I
it's
got
almost
like
nothing.
GC's a huge milestone, I'll say that.
To be
Nothing.
Yeah, I got
You
like
just
10 titles.
get
I think, in
overrun
total.
by trees
I
again.
used to play for a
yeah,
team,
because
it's
it's just such an incredible amount of time that all these materials that we build with are just going to corrode.
Try
and they're
bumping
gonna-
one.
They're going to rust
Oh,
away.
Shot.
no, I-
They're going to oxidize. They're going to flake until they're just tiny little fragments that just disperse in the sedimentary
He's
record,
missing.
and they're just
Oh my god.
invisible to see. And same with concrete. Same with even things like glass. I've heard a lot of people say that glass would potentially survive because glass is a,
Right there.
you know, it's a very durable material, and glass would survive a long time. But glass in the form of a human-made, recognizable artifact
One more.
isn't going to survive in that form. It's
Trying to
gonna
get off on a
crush,
dub.
It's going to break away into tiny little nano fragments,
what
into
are you
silica
live on?
grains that are just
Alright, now I'm live on
invisible in the
YouTube.
kind of archaeological record. When you get up to
Spell-
these
what's your name
huge
again?
levels of
Irish
time,
Elmer.
and there's I would say
IRISHELMER.
almost nothing would survive that long. And again, with the caveat that I'm just some random dude who's investigated
Boom,
this
let me
on the internet and
487
researched this
subscriber,
myself.
baby!
Not a scientist. If anyone out there is a
let me
material
comment on this
scientist,
shit.
I'd encourage them to reach out to me. But
Also, make sure
as
you
far
like
as I
the
can
video,
tell, there are
dude.
very few
If you
things
guys
that
watch
could
it, make
possibly
sure you like and
survive
subscribe.
that long. I mean, we're
Irish
pretty
Elmer,
crazy
Buttsinator.
fucking apes. Like we do crazy shit. So things like
Yeah.
like we test nuclear weapons in the atmosphere. You
Thank
could
you.
argue
It
if
took
we
me a while
knew
to come
what
up with
look
it.
Why are you
for
not streaming
and
on
what
anything
to
else?
look
Do you have
for,
multi-stream
we
or
could
no?
see traces of plutonium.
No, I
do
do not. I'm streaming off the PlayStation. I have no boost here, boys.
Stone.
Yeah, you need to
Because
get,
stone
you
obviously
know
survives
how
a
to
very long
multi-stream,
time.
right?
Human carved stone, you'd be able to
Say
find
that again?
But we do
You know how to
find that.
multi-stream?
We find, you know,
I don't
stone
think I
tools,
can
but
on
just
this
because
platform.
ancient humans used stone tools doesn't mean they didn't use anything else. It's just stone is the most likely thing
Oh,
to
you good, you
survive.
good.
And the crazy thing is, like, Joe, do you know how many sites we have, Homo sapiens sites,
What a touch.
from more than 100,000 years ago?
Nice. That's
No.
I see you, little boost.
We have 9
50?
sites,
Fake?
9 glimpses, 9 snapshots into over 200,000 years of history. 9
Get it, Troy,
moments
get
in
it.
time. And we use that to extrapolate out what every single human was doing for
Nice save.
9 globally.
Trying to get back and help.
This episode
Nice.
is brought to you by Whoop. You probably heard me talk about Whoop before, but if you hadn't, here is the
Oh, I'll do all
rundown.
that.
With Whoop,
Doink.
the goal isn't just
It
to live
finished
longer,
him.
Oh,
it's
you
to
stole
live
my
better.
net!
Well, Whoop sent me their latest track
I'm
version,
sorry,
Whoop
bro.
5.0.
Great pass.
Yeah,
Great
I
pass.
love
Where's
all
that
the
forfeit
features,
button?
especially the new battery. It lasts for over 2
Oh, I can't
weeks
abandon.
on a single
I can't
charge,
say-
so
I
you
can't
never
abandon.
miss a beat. But there's one new feature
I mean,
that's
you
really,
can't.
really exciting.
We don't want. We don't want.
Healthspan is a totally new feature on the Whoop app that shows
it's
how
probably gonna be
fast
our
your
pity
body
game,
is
honestly. We
aging
lost
and if you skew younger or older
good.
than your actual age, helping you
I'll take one
slow
that I
your
can get.
aging down
You know?
so you can keep doing what you
I am
love.
not-
It pulls
Ooh.
from 9 metrics backed by science like sleep consistency, heart rate
Give me that
zones,
boost.
and VO2 max to give you a personalized Whoop age. Join whoop.com slash
Hey, I didn't touch the ball at all right
and get a
there.
free trial. That's
Turn, somebody.
join.whoop.com/JRE for 1 month free of
I got
Whoop.
no boost on
Check
this.
it out. And where are they mostly?
Africa.
And so
Oh,
what
that's it.
do they
That's
find?
right.
Like what is the evidence?
It's usually
I got it.
caves,
Oh, you
and
got
it's
it. Nice,
usually
nice.
just, you know, remains of
It's all good, all good.
fire pits and stone tools.
Touch.
And that's
Bumped
kind of
him
it.
a
And
little.
so we see that and we think, okay, they just lived in caves and used stone tools.
Right.
But it's 9 sites,
Ceiling?
9 moments in time for 200,000 years.
Well,
Nice.
the problem is there's people that essentially
He's missing.
live like that
He's
right now in some parts of the world, which is really weird, right? Because
Wait
we
a
always
minute,
want to think
Troy.
about technology and advancement of civilization being sort of universal, but it's
Oh my bad.
really
I didn't
not.
understand the com.
You know, there's people that are living a
Very
subsistence
late.
lifestyle right now. There's people that are uncontacted right now.
At the same time as Elon Musk sending
Yes.
Oh, hey, he's in chat. What's up, bro?
Right. I mean, that's the
triple
weirdest
barrel.
ones is when you see them get invaded in the Amazon. When you see them contact these people and they're pointing bows and arrows at helicopters.
We got this. We got this.
Well, we're so adaptable. Humans can do so many different things.
Yeah.
And as you say, right now we're sending rockets to space, and people are living in very traditional ways of
Yep.
life. And that just because we find
Clear
traditional ways
sign
of life,
right there.
I repeat,
Sorry.
9 sites to cover
Right.
200,000 years.
My bad.
In my view, that's just what
I got
we
it.
can see. That's just the only, that kind of points to
Turn-
my point
yeah.
regarding what would possibly survive. Because
Right.
if you think about human lives,
Let's go with the redirect, baby.
Nice pass,
potentially
man!
exists
Let's
the
go.
whole species
Clip it and ship it.
existence.
I was
If we
expecting
only
a
have
bump, but the
9
redirect's even
glimpses
sexier.
From, and to be fair, that
Yeah!
you could say it's up to 15.
Beat him by
That
like
felt
a stick
good.
hair, bro.
But either way, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny
Holy
Beat him by like a
shit.
stick
of
hair.
human, signs of human life. Just because in that,
Oh,
in
my
that
controller
fragment,
DC'd.
in that
No!
snapshot, in that slither,
My
all you
bad, my
see
bad,
is
my bad,
Oh.
my
some
bad.
humans with
No,
stone
you're good.
tools
So
and
you were the
caves.
guy. I just didn't know if we were
Doesn't mean that
somebody else.
nothing else was happening.
Well, a good piece of evidence
Fuck.
to that
In defense,
that would
Troy,
point in that
we kinda
direction
looked
is Egypt.
So I got
Because
beaten up all the
Egypt,
time, so I'm
even if you accept the conventional
generally-
timeline of Egypt, which is 2,500 BC,
Just go
the
in.
Great Pyramid,
Post.
go look at the
No!
rest of the world.
There we
Got
go.
you.
Thank you. Oh my god. I was actually worried.
Nothing even close.
Let's see. I want to see
I
from
was,
your
if I'm worried,
POV.
it's usually not in.
Wild.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wasn't
that was posting out, bro.
Yeah, it was posting
I'm so
out.
happy.
That's if you-
Yeah.
And the conventional model
Nice
doesn't really
pass.
give us
Good
any
fucking
explanations
play,
of
bro.
how they were
Always
doing
follow
what
the
they
And
did.
play.
they
Number one
arrogantly
Yes,
rule
sir.
is not,
dismiss any
you know,
other
like when you touch
explanations,
dicks,
which
when
is
the cars
really
collide,
weird.
you touch dicks,
When you're
that's
talking
rule
about
one,
these
that's not a
immense
real rule,
structures
dude.
that are baffling.
It's a.
That's just touching dicks, bro. That's
Anybody's
gay.
being
That's
honest.
rule one,
is
bro.
always follow the play.
What is your take on these
Rule one
Italian
is
researchers
rule one.
that
It's
are
always been that
looking
way.
at
It's
the
never gonna change.
topography and they're looking at these things that they believe
I
are
refuse to
underneath
Once you get into a
the Great
rule one, you
Pyramid
can't
and
move,
some other
otherwise you're
structures
gay.
in Egypt.
No,
Yeah,
dude, no.
the-
See, that's what the gays say, bro. No offense.
I mean, I don't
care,
know.
it's
I'm
fine.
always a little bit
But
suspicious.
that's what they
when
say.
you make
Nah, bro.
sensationalist claims
And
with
not to
new
mention, if
technology,
you
and that
break a
doesn't
rule
mean
one,
it's
it's instant karma. You end up
It's
either
not
losing the
instant
match or
karma,
taking like
it's
three
not.
gold
It's
What
not.
they're
deficit.
saying is
It's
2
even in the
kilometers
Bible, the
deep
rock is
underneath the
God.
Great
It's in
Pyramid
the real
are
Bible.
structures.
Well, I don't
And
know
there's
if you're Christian,
hundreds of
Jewish,
meters
Hebrew, whatever, bro,
of
even
these
Allah says
pylons,
that.
these
Don't touch
pillars that
tits.
are in uniform positions
Praise
with
Allah.
some sort of a coil wrapped around
Teammate.
them. Like,
Yeah.
what
Nice.
is that? What is that real? And they reproduce it in multiple different
we do gotta
scans,
slow
but I don't know
Fuck
what they're
this.
seeing. I don't understand the
Yeah, I built my
technology, understand where the
conscience
errors
to
could
it.
be, like
No.
what could possibly cause it to glitch like that.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I don't know.
Come on.
I would love it to be true, obviously, because
No, I'm
if
selling
you got-
myself.
you got
Come on.
Troy.
Can you imagine?
That's the problem.
Freak out,
The
please.
He doesn't have
problem is
shit, bro.
The same problem.
Oh,
He doesn't
go.
have shit, bro.
You want it to be true.
It's gonna bounce.
100%. So
I
it
missed.
really
That's cool.
clouds my judgment, and
Troy,
then I
go.
have to get my analytical mind to say,
Try
shut
saving
up.
it.
Yeah.
Let's look at this honestly.
You got that.
But
Control.
I
I'm
think
dead in it.
I mean, there's definitely something below the Giza Plateau. Like, that's always been written about in ancient sources, and
Yes.
these kind of scans, and
Sorry, we're
then
talking
people
religion
kind
on
of-
Joe Rogan. so I'm
you
trying
have
to
stories
pull
of people
away.
going down into labyrinths that aren't, accepted by Egyptology, and there's definitely
might beat 'em.
massive
I
mysteries
might
around
beat 'em.
Giza and the construction.
Let's go,
Nice.
dude!
Nice.
Oh my god, I had the speed
Nice
and I was like,
shot.
this might be awkward for him. honestly.
Pyramid scan project.
I was trying to read it and
has
trying to
the
follow, but I had no
potential,
boost,
think,
so
to,
I
you know,
was
make
fucked.
big progress in understanding what it is.
I literally read his footing.
I don't know, until there's better data out there, I'm not gonna,
Go get your toy.
jump to any
Go get your toy, you
conclusions
know.
and declare that this
You know
is
who
like
Yuna is?
evidence of, a
It's
lost
named my
advance
dog, but also
technology,
Fox.
civilization, or anything
No,
like
you
that.
can't.
Oh.
I
Well,
am so
GG's. My old lady's
excited
calling me,
about just
so
the
hopefully we win
19
this.
seconds though. Don't
the
get
video.
off. I'm
Nice.
up, I'm up,
Jeez,
I'm
I'm
free
all-
jumping.
That's
free
the
jumping.
greatest monkey wrench into
Yeah.
history that's ever existed. Because explain away that
Yeah.
with ancient people with stone tools or copper. Like explain that away.
They probably try, mate, because it already doesn't make sense. Their explanation for the construction of the pyramids being wooden
Keep it up,
sledges
score!
and stone chisels or
Score!
whatever they say. It already doesn't make sense. It's already so ridiculous that I wouldn't even be
All right,
surprised if
GG
they tried to
Zelmer,
explain
good
away
game,
these
buddy.
Well,
massive
that it'll
columns, but-
discredit them because the problem is if it
What do you
does
want? Come on.
indicate that the
Come on, up
pyramid
here.
is something
Come on.
other than a tomb,
Up.
you know,
There's not. I don't even see any evidence that the Great Pyramid at Giza. I mean, what's the evidence that that was a tomb? I mean, I don't think they've ever found a body in there.
No.
It's just a
Look up
chamber
there.
which they've
Look up
called
there,
the
at
King's
that.
Chamber.
Look at that.
Right.
I mean, I'm not an expert in ancient Egypt by any respect, but it's always baffled me that they're so determined that the pyramids are tombs just
Go get
because
Koi.
some later pyramids have had,
the
mummies
warm-up
and
games.
pharaohs and sarcophagi found inside them. But
That doesn't mean anything, and that doesn't mean that they built it. That also could mean that the pharaoh decided that it was his and wanted to be buried inside of
Yeah.
it, and it had existed for thousands of years before they ever even got there.
and you find bodies in buildings
Oh, thanks for
today,
your
and that doesn't mean the
toy.
purpose of that building
for
was
your
to
little
be a
chicken.
tomb.
Right.
It's just someone's
Exactly.
buried there, so someone, as you
It's
say,
a
thought it was-
weird assumption. It's a very weird assumption. And did you ever read any Christopher
Dunn, yeah.
Christopher Dunn's work?
I know a bit. I haven't read his book, but I know a bit about it. And it's interesting. I mean, he's like a serious guy, isn't he? He's like
an engineer.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
he has quite serious theories that.
He thinks it's a power plant.
Yeah, which would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Especially if you add into that the Graham Hancock's ideas and some of these other people's ideas that perhaps some of these structures are far older.
Well, the
I mean,
kind of Orion correlation and the
Yes.
Sphinx.
Also,
weathering.
the fact that the deeper you go into the sand, the more sophisticated the building techniques are.
Yeah.
That gets weird. Like larger stones. Like, what happened?
The whole of ancient Egypt and the Sahara Desert in general just doesn't make sense to me, because when you look at the Sahara Desert and the fact that it was green for 9,000 years and then it stopped being green at precisely the time that we're told ancient Egypt emerged, well, that doesn't make sense. That defies how civilization works. Why would a civilization only emerge after the climate got worse?
Right.
That doesn't make sense at all.
And so little research done in sub-Saharan Africa, where they've actually gone into the ground and done large scale research of these immense areas.
Nothing. The Sahara Desert is vast and obviously covered in sand and extremely hot, extremely difficult to survey, politically unstable, and there's basically been no archaeological work done across the whole. And the Sahara Desert is massive. It's like the whole of North Africa, right down to.
Right.
I mean, it's massive, and
You could fit the United States in
you
there.
could fit anything in there, like a whole preceding civilization for 9,000 years leading up to ancient Egypt. It's the perfect place. It's right by Mesopotamia. It's right by Egypt. And yet we have this blank spot for the 9,000 years before the development of civilization, which is kind of also the gap between, I mean, it's a little bit less than this, but the gap between Göbekli Tepe and the
Sorry,
birth of
bruh.
civilization.
We're
We
fine
have
now,
this
we're fine, we're
huge
fine.
area which would have been perfect for civilization, full of rivers, lakes, grasslands, perfect climate, and it's just missing.
Also, abundant resources where they could establish a stable civilization because they had so much food and they weren't being attacked, so they could kind of set up shop and figure some things out
Yeah.
over a long period of time.
Yeah. So my theory is that things were happening in the Sahara Desert when it was green, in the Green Sahara, for those 9,000 years. And then, because it was really quick, that's what I don't think people realize, is that when the Sahara Desert turned from, green lush paradise, whatever you want to call it, to the desert, it was like a few centuries. It's called
There's
rapid
some lag there.
desertification, and it flipped, not overnight, obviously, but in a few centuries compared to 9,000 years is a rapid change. And for any kind of culture that was living there, you wouldn't have noticed it straight away, but in 50 years, you'd be like, fuck, it's getting a bit hot here, do you know what I mean? Shit's going on. And then I think maybe people migrated to the last
you gotta
stretch
hit
of
it
green
in,
that was still available to them, which was the Nile River. And then kind of survivors or the migratory populations developed
they
around
had
the
an
Nile
Neuralink,
River,
they're definitely
and
in that.
using the kind of experience and knowledge that they had from their lives and the kind of history of their cultures in the Green Sahara period, that is what led to ancient Egypt. I mean, that's just a
Well, it's
theory,
also
but-
just an assumption that ancient Egypt didn't exist alongside that,
That's true,
or even previous to that, which is also possible, especially when you consider what Robert Schoch thinks about the erosion, the water erosion in the Temple of the Sphinx.
Yeah, the kind of explanation away of that also never made sense to me, that it's wind and sand, because when you see pictures of the Sphinx, even from when they kind of found it in Napoleonic times, it's buried in sand.
Right.
And there's records from the Egyptians themselves who, excavated it effectively because it was covered in sand. So if it quickly gets covered in sand, how could it be eroded by wind and sand if it doesn't take very long for it to kind of get filled up with sand? Then how does wind and sand erosion even count? I've never seen anyone kind of explain that away.
Well, it's the walls that are the most fascinating to me, because the deep fissures that clearly look like rainfall. it looks like something that water does over thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, and when you
Those whales that were the Valley of the Whales. It's
Yeah.
I don't know how many miles south, but it's south of Cairo.
that's bonkers too. That's crazy. They find whales, hundreds of whales in the desert. That's so great. Look at that image. That's so nuts. That is so nuts.
Some of them have teeth and toes.
So crazy. So crazy. And then it makes you wonder, like, how did those bones survive? Like, why are they there? Like, how quickly did they die? How quickly did they get covered up by sediment that they could find them all these years later? Because that's the weird thing about fossils and bones in
I hit the
general,
bomb.
is that most of them you're never going to find because they get eaten, they deteriorate, they're gone. Like, it's very difficult to make a fossil. You know, when you think about our, you know,
I have the
quote-unquote
lowest
fossil
ping.
record, it's really weird because it's hard to make a fossil. So we're dealing with a very small amount of beings that get turned into a fossil, and that is what we're using as our understanding of, like, life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's weird
It is weird. It is
because
weird.
it's so limited.
I'm not sure when was the. Do you know when the Sahara was covered in water? I'm not even sure when that was. I mean, some people say that there's like a mass flood during the kind of Younger Dryas period, which I think is.
I think they're talking about millions
Yeah,
of years ago for
exactly,
these
yeah.
bones.
Yeah.
How old are these whale bones supposed to be? But I think millions of years ago, it's assumed that it was completely underwater, right? So are we talking like Pangea times? Like, what are we talking about?
I don't know. But even not too long ago, like, you know, kind of 12,000 years ago, whatever, they had these massive river systems, like the Tamanrasset River system.
Here it is.
40 million years old.
Yeah.
40 million years
How
old.
about the whales?
Oh my God.
Primitive whales.
Primitive whales documenting, how do you say that word? Cetacean? How do you say that word? Cetacean transition? Is that how you say it? Cetacean transition to marine life, ceridians and reptiles, as well as shark teeth from the Genaham Formation 40 to 41 million years ago. The strata in, I don't say that either, Wad al Hitan belongs to Middle Eocene epoch, and it contains extensive vertebrate fossils within a 200-kilometer area. Fossils are present in high numbers and often show excellent quality of preservation. The most conspicuous fossils are skeletons and bones of whales and sea cows.
What's a sea cow?
Oh, I don't know.
What's the manatee?
You ever see the precursor to whales, like where whales came from?
No, where did they come from?
It was an ancient animal that was like almost like a hoofed wolf.
What, sea animal?
No,
Oh, you mean,
it was
so they
a
were.
land animal. That's why they breathe air.
Oh, of course, they're mammals, aren't they?
Yeah,
That's weird.
it's super weird. It's super weird. It was some animal that supposedly lived on land, and is real freaky looking, almost kind of like dog-like.
Yeah.
And that thing eventually
Became a
said,
whale.
I just like swimming.
I'm gonna go back
And then
into the
one
sea.
day it said, I'm never going back to the land. It's filled with assholes. I'm just going to live out here in the ocean where all you have to contend with is
This
sharks.
article calls it the god of death whale.
Wow, that's what it looks like. That's what it looked like. But there's some images of it on land, some depictions. Yeah, that's what it looked like. That freaky thing was what whales came from. That thing walked around the ground and then eventually said,
It's 40 million years ago. Is that what those skeletons are then? Maybe.
Interesting. Some of them maybe, right? Because they do know that thing. It was when whales walked in Egypt. Wow. I was watching, I don't remember whose podcast it was. I wish I could remember. But we were talking to some guy that found definitive evidence of dinosaurs in Egypt. So if you go back far enough, there were dinosaurs living in that part of the world as well. What's that one image you just saw right there with the mouth open? Yeah, that one. That's crazy looking. Prehistoric whale ancestor. Look at that thing. Whoa. That's crazy.
This is here's the sea cow.
What?
So this image says a prehistoric sea cow was killed by a prehistoric croc
Wow.
and eaten by a tiger shark. I don't know.
Boy. Life is hard where there's no doors. That's the problem with the ocean. There's no doors. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, you
So
get
it's
fucked
just
up.
constant chaos. It is just constant things eating things in this 3D space where they can go up and down and side to side. And
that's just nature, isn't it? Like, everyone's just killing everything else.
yes. This episode is brought to you by Uber Eats. Summer is here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do I mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get chicken parmesan delivered. A day in the sun? No. A bottle of rum? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. For almost anything delivered with Uber Eats, order now. For alcohol, you must be legal drinking age. Please enjoy responsibly. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
We made it.
But we figured out doors.
We did.
We figured out walls and doors, and that changed the game.
But when did we do that, Joe? That's the question.
That is the
because
question.
a lot of people would claim to think, and the kind of consensus always is, that we didn't do that until 12,000 years ago. We didn't settle down and form permanent communities until the Neolithic Revolution. And I think that's one of the major paradigms, if you like, that we have regarding our past that simply doesn't make sense in light of new evidence. And
What is that evidence that they found of wood construction from far longer than they thought?
Yeah, this is the Colombo structure, and this
Yes.
is something I talk about a lot in my videos because I think it's a crazy find, and I don't understand why it's not kicking up more of a fuss. Like, if I'm the guy that has to kick up the fuss about it, then I'll be that guy, because basically, the idea has always been that humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers that moved with the seasons and lived in caves or just kind of walked around for all of our history until the Neolithic Revolution, the invention of agriculture 12,000 years ago. And no earlier than that did we ever settle down and live in permanent settlements. But the Colombo structure was something they found a few years ago in modern-day Zambia. And what it is these pieces of wood, and I'll get to the point about why this wood has survived in a minute, because obviously, wood surviving this long is crazy. But there you go. Yes, so the Colombo structure is these pieces of wood that have been joined together deliberately, cut in notches and connected together, tapered and secured at right angles. And they think it was either a kind of raised walkway, like a kind of raised platform, or a house, a dwelling, a hut, some kind of structure. And why this is so paradigm shifting is because not only does this kind of scream that humans potentially lived in permanent settlement. Sorry, I haven't even said this. This is 476,000 years old. So this predates Homo sapiens. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly, as in, what do you mean allegedly? Oh,
because we
exactly.
recently found out that they lived 300,000 years
I guess it could have been us. But what they attribute it to is Homo heidelbergensis, who's our last common ancestor with Neanderthals. So they're kind of the human species that came before Homo sapiens. So I guess you're right. It could have been Homo sapiens, and we're just not sure how old we are. But it's
look at that.
it's kind of attributed to Homo heidelbergensis. And the only reason this structure survived at all is because pretty soon after its construction, it must have fallen into a bog. And then that bog kind of got solidified over by the sun, and then it was preserved in waterlogged sediment, which protected it from decay for almost 500,000 years until it was discovered by us recently. And
How recent?
I think about 5 years ago, maybe. Was it 2019 or something? I'm not 100% sure. But it's crazy. It's lasted so
another
long.
monkey wrench.
Yeah, I would say it's a massive monkey wrench, because not only does it kind of really dispute this idea that we didn't settle down until 12,000 years ago with the Neolithic Revolution, because it's a structure. And it's just because it's so unlikely, it's so unbelievable that this would have survived. But that kind of suggests that it's not the only one.
Right.
There could have been loads of these,
Right.
structures everywhere. And
But as you said, Manhattan
yeah,
wouldn't exist in 100,000 years. So this is 476,000 years.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's just wood, which is less durable
Yeah.
than all the other things that we were talking about.
Yeah, and obviously people may be saying, well, look, clearly things survive, but this is an extreme edge case scenario where it's like so unbelievably unlikely that this wooden structure would kind of sink into a bog, and then that bog be, solidified over, and then it would stay in that preserved. Like
then that they would find it.
and then they would find it, exactly, because what
You
are
have
the
to go
chances?
476,000 years into
Yeah.
the sediment.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't dig that far and look for anything sophisticated, because we think, nothing happened back then. And then
Right.
you find this, and it really suggests that humans were living in much more complex societies. And the fact that they had the cognitive capacity to plan, structurally engineer and build a structure completely flies in the face of what we've always thought about ancient humans. Because we've always had this idea that there's been this very popular idea in kind of mainstream historical thought that humans only got smart around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's just Homo sapiens. We've always thought that other human species never got smart, never achieved what we call behavioral modernity. And this has always been the kind of idea that we went through this cognitive revolution around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And the most obvious proponent of how entrenched this is in kind of academic thought is, have you ever read the book Sapiens?
Yes.
Yeah, by Yuval Noah Harari. It's an extremely popular book. It sold something like 60 million copies worldwide. By far the most popular book about prehistory and, you know, the story of Homo sapiens ever written. And Sapiens didn't kind of do anything new. It didn't, I think Harari himself would admit this. It kind of just collected the consensus of academia and presented it in a nice, digestible way to the kind of layman audience. But he took this idea that's always been present in academia regarding human intelligence, which is that while we've been around for quite a long time, we didn't achieve behavioral modernity until 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's when we started apparently displaying complex cognitive traits like abstract thinking and planning and burying our dead and art, yeah, exactly, and complex language and things like that. But this just completely flies in the face of that, because if we had the capability to plan, construct, and engineer a structure 476,000 years ago, that means, mainstream anthropology was off by over 400,000 years regarding the advent of intelligence and the advent of permanent living. And that's quite the error. 400,000 years, exactly. So that kind of suggests they could be off by similar margins about other developmental claims, because I don't know, it's a big, big error.
Well, it's also, when you think about the history of the Earth, there are times that we know that there's great bottlenecks that occurred because of some sort of a massive natural catastrophe, like the Toba volcano.
Yeah.
Right, the Toba volcano, which was 70,000 years ago? Was that what it was?
Something like that, yeah.
Brought people down to a few thousand survivors on Earth.
Yeah, and there's loads of these bottlenecks.
Yes.
And you look at our kind of genetic history, and I mean, does that suggest that something happened?
Right. Well, you're thinking about what evidence there is, and then you think about, there's no one left except a few thousand people 70,000 years ago. So it's possible that there's been this rise of some sort of a civilization and then massive catastrophe and a rebuilding. Just like if we're talking about the Younger Dryas, which is in this time period we're talking about, when you're dealing with 476,000 years ago, fairly recent, right?
Very recent.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about the 6,000 years it took for civilization to reemerge from that. Now you think of Toba, and you knock down the entire population of the planet to, what did they think it was? See if you can find out what the number was. I think it was very low. I think it was below 3,000 people on Earth.
Yeah.
On Earth.
Yeah, just from one natural disaster.
People. One massive super volcano, which is, by the way, just like Yellowstone.
Yeah. There's lots. It could all happen again.
That motherfucker is bubbling, too. Here it is. Potentially, almost all of humanity, leaving around 3,000 to 10,000 humans left on the planet.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And supervolcano isn't the only thing. There's so many others.
What time period is this, Jeremy? 74,000 years ago.
So that's quite recent.
Yeah.
In terms of our story.
Well, in terms of your theory that I thought was one of the most interesting ones that you brought up, that in your videos, you were talking about how anatomical humans, just based on what we've agreed to, based on what we found 300,000 years, like, what are the possibilities that there have been civilizations that emerged and were destroyed, and then there's no evidence of them?
Yeah, because, aside from the preservation problem, which we kind of already talked about, when you get up to these massive timescales, very little's going to survive, especially when you think about what early humans were likely building with.
Yes.
Like, it's probably the things they could find in their environment, like wood, hide, plant remains.
You'd have nothing left.
Nothing.
Just look at what we know about the Amazon now.
Yeah.
Because of LiDAR and because of, what is his name? Percy Fawcett. Because these people that made these journeys down there looking for these complex civilizations that at one point in time, now we know did exist there.
Yeah.
And just 100 years later, they called those people liars because they went back to the same place and there was nothing left.
Yeah. That's always been, thought of as myth or pseudoscience, that it's kind of that most popular idea of lost civilizations was civilizations of the Amazon, and it was always dismissed. But
well, here's what's really crazy. Have you seen Detroit? Have you seen the evidence of Detroit where trees are going through houses?
And that's like 50 years, less.
Yes,
or if you look at Chernobyl, the kind of exclusion zone where no one lives, it's already like trees everywhere, and like nature is already taking root after less than half a century.
Yeah, bizarre.
And then 100,000 years. Like,
Right.
seriously, what's going to be left?
Very, very little. And then if you go 200,000 years, I mean, if anatomically modern humans, we've discovered them at 300,000 years, what if somebody digs one up that's 2 million years old? Then what do you do? then you got to go, oh boy. Well, and then there's also this thought that Neanderthals were stupid. They're kind of abandoning that now, too. They're thinking they had language, they had tools, they had society.
They definitely did. There's so much evidence. And this kind of puts into the cognitive revolution argument, which is, that we were the only smart species. Like, our name that we gave ourselves, Homo sapiens, literally means smart man. It's always been the idea that we're the smartest humans, and that's why we won. And to be fair, we did win.
We did win.
Whatever you want to call it.
We might just be the most evil.
Yeah, we might be the most evil, or we just might be the luckiest ones,
Well, we're the weakest, so we probably had to be evil.
It's true.
We had to figure out weapons that would be able to defeat the Neanderthals, who had, by the way, larger brain capacities.
I think they were just
sapiens.
as intelligent as us, to be honest.
That's nuts.
Well, I mean, that's a claim that probably some people would dispute, but I think there's lots of evidence that they were very smart. And
well, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And if you're physically weaker than these other things that are as intelligent as you and far stronger, like you gotta get devious. You gotta figure some stuff out.
But like, did we even? I mean, maybe they got wiped out by something like disease, or did they even get wiped out? Because if you even look at the DNA of non-African humans, it's something like 20% in some populations is Neanderthal. So
yes,
they're kind of still here.
Well, they just sort of interbred.
Yeah,
which is also weird because most species can't breed with other species.
Yeah,
just
But we're very closely related to Neanderthals.
Yeah, it's weird. The whole history of humans is weird, and for academics to deny this possibility to me seems so short-sighted.
I know. It will change.
Silly.
I think we're on the brink of quite a massive shift in our perspective regarding prehistory.
I think so too, and I think it has to happen where, I don't mean to say this to be cruel, but the old people have to die.
There's that quote, isn't it? Science advances one funeral at a time.
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't take that long, though. To be honest, Joe, I hope it's just in the next few years.
Well, the good thing is a lot of scientists don't take care of themselves, so. Which is also weird when you see super intelligent people that are obese and eat terrible food.
Or health experts that are such.
Yes, air quote health experts, not real ones. But it is, to me, a great disservice. And one of the things that I find very promising is that a lot of young academics are embracing a lot of alternative ideas, whether quietly or whether they're doing it publicly.
Yeah, well, I think the advent of the internet and shows like this, or the medium of podcasting, has really kind of democratized the access to information and allowed people with theories that potentially wouldn't have been able to get out there in the pre-internet age, where they were you had to go through a kind of academic institution to get a theory heard or debated. Now anyone can say anything, for better or worse, and that can reach millions of people. And then if it's an idea that's popular, then it can kind of be in the public eye, and then it can be debated properly. And I think that's only a good thing. Obviously there are negative aspects to that, but I think that will increase ideas regarding prehistory, for example. I think it will increase the rate in which these things will get accepted, because once the evidence is out there, and once you start talking about the Colombo structure, for example, and how it completely flies in the face of both these paradigms regarding permanent living and human intelligence, it's out there now. People can look it up, and people can see that this is completely kind of opposed to what we've always been taught regarding prehistory.
And isn't it kind of arrogant to assume that they know who built it too? That's weird too, because they're basing it on this assumption that human beings didn't exist back then. At least Homo sapiens didn't exist back then, which is also being challenged over and over and over again.
Yeah, the fact they base it on Heidelbergensis is literally just because we found some Heidelbergensis remains like 200 kilometers away. And they're like, oh, okay, well, Heidelbergensis. I mean, it could have been, to be fair, but...
It could have been, but I mean, right now, there's people that are living in Africa, and 200 kilometers away from them are apes.
Yeah.
So if one day they found structures, you know, in the future, said, oh, these are made by chimpanzees.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, that's the thing about history is it's all based on massive assumptions. It's not like a hard science. It's interpreting evidence, and that's fine. Like, that's how we do it. But
Sure.
that's why I don't
Well,
get...
it's the only way to do it right
exactly.
now.
It's the only way to do it. So that's why I
Yeah.
don't get why people make these definitive conclusions and then don't allow anybody to kind of speculate or hypothesize about anything else.
It's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's gatekeeping. It's academic gatekeeping. It's also these people that have been teaching this one thing forever being threatened by the fact they were wrong. The last thing an academic wants to hear is like, you wrote this book, this stupid book. This book misled people for decades. You were so wrong. Like, they will fight it with every ounce of their being because it's essentially their identity. Their identity is being the gatekeeper of their understanding of human history.
Yeah,
And-
they've built a whole career around it, and they've, you know, as you say, it's their identity. They've been the keeper of knowledge on a particular subject, and then...
But it's gross because it's ours. It's the whole
It's everyone's,
planet.
yeah.
It's all the human beings. It's like, do you have a few nerds who you wouldn't want to hang out with in real life? And these are the guys that are telling us we can't explore these things? And those are the people that are attacking Graham Hancock with every possible insult, calling it the most dangerous show on television. Like this, but it's also it's so revealing because it's so obvious that if you watch the show, you're like, wait, this is the most dangerous show on TV?
Asian Apocalypse, yeah.
Like,
It's ridiculous.
how is that dangerous? He's like just talking about these bizarre structures that exist that seem to defy our modern understanding of how things are built.
Yeah, and when I mean, I don't agree with absolutely everything Graham Hancock says, but when I look at, you know, these ideas of, you know, human intelligence potentially stretching back 500,000 years as displayed by the Colombo structure, or permanent living, and I would argue that it could go back a lot further than that. So when you kind of take into account that these abilities could have stretched back 500,000 years, when I then look at someone like Graham's work, it seems so plausible. I don't see why it's seen as so outrageous that, because 12,000 years ago, which is kind of when he proposes there could have been a sophisticated civilization that was potentially wiped out by a cataclysm. When you look at that from the perspective of, oh yeah, we've been intelligent for 500,000 years, it seems very plausible to me.
Not only that, it's 450,000 years after the first structure now.
Yeah. But no one's talking about this.
That's what's weird, is that no one's talking about that.
It's just me.
It's not,
as far as I can tell.
just you. It's like those academics as well that found it.
To be fair, the guy that found it, the archaeologist that found it, said that he never could have imagined that pre-Homo sapien, and again, it may not be pre-Homo sapien, it could be Homo sapien, but he said it's completely paradigm shifting that they had the capacity to plan and build something like this. But again, there's no fuss about it. It's just a paper was written and it was put out there, and then that's it.
Well, these things take time.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, more of these conversations and more people have to understand that these things are being discovered and that we are kind of confused about so many things about human history. And we're being told that, no, there's people at the universities that have all the answers and that it's literally not possible that they're telling the truth. It's not possible. And that's why I get so excited about the structures under the pyramid, because it's a gigantic fuck you
Yeah,
to all those people.
It would be, yeah.
It would be the most gigantic fuck you of all time if they found out that those scans are accurate and there's these pillars that are wrapped in coils that go down like hundreds of meters, and then below them there's additional structures and the whole.
And they think it's all connected as well.
Yes. Which is like, if Christopher Dunn is correct about it being some sort of a power plant and that reveals like how the thing worked and functioned,
Yeah.
that's way more advanced than us. Like, what is that?
In some ways, they already are. I mean, we can't explain how they did it, even based on
Right.
the kind of conventional model of history.
I know, and we lie.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people. Like when I had Zawi Hawass here and he was explaining to me.
National project.
It was the national project. They're like, oh, that'll fix it. We should make our national project to breathe underwater and fly through the air. Like, we should make that our national project, to go to other planets and live there in case Earth gets blown up. What are you talking about, man? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, they just don't want it, and it does kind of make me worry. Like, I don't really delve into the kind of conspiracy side of things because, I mean, I I try to stay kind of based in.
Not me. I go right in.
I mean,
face first.
I do it in my own time and stuff. I mean, in my own head and stuff. But in terms of like my videos,
what one do you dive into in your own head the most?
I sometimes combine the UFO one with the ancient civilization one.
I do too.
And I think what happens if, you know, a civilization from 1 million years ago got so advanced that we can't see them, and then that's what the UFO thing is. It's just someone from this Earth that doesn't really need the space anymore, and they're just watching us.
Yeah.
Sometimes think about that. But obviously I don't talk about that in my videos because I don't need to give anyone any more ammunition to send for me.
Well, there's also the genetic engineering one.
Oh, you mean like that?
Yeah, like why humans are so different than everything else in the first place. Like, that's weird. The doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years is really weird.
What does that refer to? Is that from habilis to erectus? What is that?
I don't know. Let's Google it.
So I've heard people say that, and I've always thought, I guess that must be from Homo habilis to Homo erectus from just over 1 million years ago.
An immense leap that is, like Terence McKenna used to say, it would be bizarre if it was a liver of an otter that doubled over a period of that amount of time. But the fact that it's the very organ that allows us to contemplate and to understand human existence in the first place, and that organ doubled over a period of 2 million years, like, what happened?
Yeah.
He's got the wackiest theory because he thinks it's psilocybin mushrooms.
I think there could be something to that. I mean, because, you know, ancient cultures have always used psychedelic substances, and basically all the way up until Western society kind of took hold, it's always been an integral part of human culture and human society. And then us in our modern world have decided to outlaw that, and I think that's a tragic mistake, to be honest with you.
It is, and I think history will reveal that.
Yeah.
One day. And I think that is one of the also one of the good things about discussions that are happening on the internet that are kind of unchecked and untethered by academia, so you can talk about these things. Bigger brains.
Smithsonian website says it's actually tripled over the time we've tracked it.
Wow.
Slow increase from 6 to 2 million, but a larger increase 800 to 200,000 years ago.
Wow.
And then the article goes.
That's when the aliens landed.
Yeah. So I don't even buy that though, because Heidelbergensis have the same cranial capacity as us, and they go back 900,000 years. So.
The other thing I saw before,
But maybe that's erectus they're talking about.
brains don't fossilize; they deteriorate, leaving a cavity
inside the brain case.
That's part of how they know some of this info.
Sometimes sediments fill the cavity hard, meaning natural endocasts. Scientists also make artificial endocasts to study like the ones above. Fascinating.
Yeah, we're a weird creature.
Well, did you say it's 2017 that they discovered modern humans 300,000 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
And where was that?
It's in Morocco.
And so that's Morocco, right? You said that. So imagine if they found something similar in China.
Well, that would fuck everything up, because the out of Africa thing, and that would really fuck everything up. But I mean, it could happen.
Well, it wouldn't really even fuck it up. It would just push it back.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not even supposed to have left Africa until this time of the cognitive revolution, and that's always been one of the points. Like, oh look, we got smart, we left Africa 60,000 years ago. But that's never made sense to me either, because Homo erectus managed to migrate out of Africa and colonize loads of Asia and parts of Europe over 1 million years ago. And if they're supposedly, you know, inferior to us, then how can they make this massive leap? And Heidelbergensis did it 600,000 years ago. And if they're supposedly inferior to us, how come they did this? And so, I mean, I don't know. I try not to delve into the out of Africa thing, because it's, I don't know, it gets a little bit controversial sometimes.
It does. Well, it gets controversial when you bring in aliens too, because aliens become racist.
Yeah.
It becomes racist because now you're not accrediting the Africans to building the pyramids. You know, it's just really
That's never
fascinating.
made sense to me, that, because it clearly wasn't white people that built the pyramids.
Well, I watched this very bizarre discussion between some guy that was trying to claim that it wasn't Africans that built the pyramid, that it was white people that built the pyramids. So there are people that have this sort of racist idea of the construction of the pyramids, but you can't attach that to everyone who's speculating about the construction, because the things are too weird. It's too weird. And let's assume that it was Africans that built the pyramids. But if we are assuming that, like, how were they so much smarter than everyone alive today?
Yeah.
How were they so much smarter Let's say it's 4,500 years ago. How were they so much smarter? What was going on? Like, what happened? Did they get visited by aliens? Did they discover something that allowed their understanding of physics to be just so much greater than everybody else who's ever lived? Like, what did they discover? Like, what were they encountering? What were they consuming? What were they doing? What were they teaching each other? Where, we lost so much in the burning of the Library of Alexandria, right?
Yeah, that's it's quite sad, really, isn't it? To be honest, like there would have been a lot in. I'm not sure 100% what happened with that. I'm not sure if it was one burning or
just several burnings. Yeah,
but clearly a lot was lost.
But then the question is, like, what did they even know? Like, what if it's older than that? Like, what if all that stuff? What if this is one of the things that Zawi Hawass was. Very reluctant to. He's like, what is this? I was talking about the King's List that goes back 30,000 years.
Yeah,
What if that's accurate?
Yeah, it's the Sumerian one does too.
Yeah. It gets real squirrely when you only want to accept some parts of history.
And that ties into the Green Sahara thing that I was talking about. Like, they have the king lists that go back this far, and we say that some of them are myth. And to be fair, they have kings that reign for like 1,000 years, which. It's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
Probably not. I mean, unless you're talking some kind of alien thing, then that probably wasn't human. But that might just be because it would have been a long time ago for them too, when they were writing these king lists.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that their civilization only started with the first dynasty. What we've decided is the line between myth and fact, because that's a modern interpretation after the fact. They never made such distinction.
Yeah, and this idea that they lived 1,000 years. Well, have you ever read the North Korea depictions of Kim Jong-un's first day playing golf?
Yeah, it's propaganda. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, he made like 9 holes in one.
Yeah.
He was the greatest golfer of all time.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're writing about kings. He lived 1,000 years. Fire came from his dick. Like what are we talking about? We don't know. We don't know what they were writing. We don't know who wrote it. We don't know how fantastical it was, how much hyperbole was involved. But we do know that we accept the King's List when it gets to around 2,500 BC. We start accepting it.
Yeah.
But you don't accept this possibility that it might actually go far, far, far earlier than that.
And the pyramids thing kind of plays into the fact that stone is one of the only thing that survives. And pyramids are these massive stone constructions. Like, ironically, they would be one of the only things from our, not that they really count as our civilization, but from the modern world, the pyramids would be one of the only things that could survive in 100,000 years. So it makes you think, like, how long have they been there? And I think the Egyptians definitely undertook some kind of construction project around the time of 2,500 BC.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's records of them saying they did stuff, but that doesn't mean, because they have all these records, but there's no records of how they built it.
Well, they also, the buildings that they made that were after 2,500 BC are dog shit.
So much worse.
Terrible.
They just immediately forgot how to do it again straight away.
They were trying to copy, and they just couldn't do it. They didn't have the math. They didn't have the engineering. The stones are smaller.
And no one's claimed, they don't claim credit for the pyramids, which is weird.
Yeah.
Why would you not claim it?
Yeah, it's all weird. It's all weird. It's the weirdest, right? So it's the one thing that if you're a logical person and you think you know the timeline of history, you think you understand human civilization, you think you understand like how intelligence evolved and how technology and innovation evolved, and you see that, you're like, oh, I don't know shit. I don't know shit. Like, how's that statue so big and perfectly symmetrical?
They're crazy.
How are these just these vases that they don't understand?
Oh, is that a replica
This is
of...
a 3D. And this is a 3D model of an actual vase from Egypt.
Yeah. They're doing some good work on this, aren't they? People like Uncharted
Who gave this
X
to us? Did Christopher Dunn give this to us? I think he did.
It's probably him, yeah.
But you know, Ben from Uncharted X, he's done a lot of work on these things. Like those vases are very bizarre, very bizarre.
And they appear right at the start of the Egyptian dynasties.
Yeah,
and they forget how to do that as well.
We have no idea how they made them. We don't know what tools they used. Anybody that says that they do, you're lying. You really don't know. You can't know. These things are perfectly symmetrical. They weren't turned on a lathe because they have handles. The way they measure them, when you look at like the deviation from round and like how it's like a thousandth of a human hair.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and it's made from incredibly hard granite.
Yeah,
right?
it's like the hardest stone to do that with.
So what are we talking about? Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy.
And then you have the statues that are perfectly symmetrical.
Perfectly
Like, the faces
symmetrical.
are just incredible.
And
like,
massive.
yeah,
Yeah.
huge,
Right.
unbelievably huge.
So they moved them there, and then they carved them perfectly symmetrically. It looks like they're 3D printed.
Yeah.
It's so strange. It just screams at a lost technology.
At least, yeah.
It screams that these people had some sort of information and some sort of education that is like on a different path of our. We went the way of the internal combustion engine and transistors and electronics, and it seems like they went a totally different way, but maybe even further.
Yeah.
But we're scrambled in like our pathway to advancement is the only one that the human mind and all its infinite creativity can conceive of.
And this is another point regarding, like, you know, culture that could have flourished back in 100,000 years ago or whatever. We're always looking for ourselves in the past.
Yes.
But there's so many different ways that we could have gone, because why did it have to be mass farming, mass population growth, and then, as you say, kind of industrial progress? It could have been so many different forms of human development and human lives. And
Well, it could have been if they had enough animals, they mostly ate animals.
yeah, or fish or something.
Yeah, mostly ate animals and fish, which is probably healthier for you anyway. You know, really what grain is survival food.
Yeah, and we all got like shorter and less healthy when that happened.
Yeah, because we didn't get the right amount of protein.
Yeah.
And our jaws like shrunk because people were eating gruel. Like
Yeah.
if you look at part of the world where people are eating a lot of like porridge and shit, their jaws get really small.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
not
it's
good.
from.
Not good for us.
No, it's fucking terrible for we're devolving because of our diets, which is really strange. But if you think about this time, and especially that part of the world where there was so much abundant natural resources, that animal agriculture seems super simple.
Yeah.
You just corral a bunch of animals, you build a fence, and then you eat them.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to grow rice.
So many different ways that culture could have flourished.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're always looking for it, and we just don't know where to look as well on the record. Like, one point people always make in like my comments and stuff to try and debunk me is like, oh, we would see pollution, we would see kind of lead signals in the atmosphere or whatever if there was like a big civilization 100,000 years ago. But that's only the case if it was someone on the scale of us now. Because
or if they were doing it the way we're doing
yeah,
it.
that
That's
as
the
well,
thing.
yeah.
We're talking about a completely different pathway. Clearly, there's some technology that they had that we don't understand. When you talk about the drill holes that they find, or the way they had carved out these enormous, massive chunks of stone and were apparently going to move them, we don't
like
understand.
the unfinished obelisk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The unfinished obelisk, that's bananas. It's so many of these things that they cut out of the ground and absolutely moved are bananas.
Yeah.
So it's like, what kind of technology? Why are we assuming that it's going to be some internal combustion engine that sprays out terrible pollution? What if they had figured something out?
I would say it's entirely possible.
It's entirely possible, because we're going to eventually. If you give us another 1,000 years, you will not be able to recognize any of this nonsense that we use for technology today, especially when AI gets involved. Like, did you see that thing where a quantum computer supposedly went 1 second back in time?
I did. I was reading that.
Is that bullshit?
No, they discovered it 6 years ago, though. It's not new.
What?
6 years ago, still,
that story's from
2019,
yeah.
but still.
It went back in time.
Yeah, by 1 second in some way in quantum.
What does that even mean?
fields.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's mad.
But that's us. Now imagine that technology that was science fiction 20 years ago, right? We'll go back to like the movie Alien and look at their stupid computers that they had. That's what they thought people were going to have when they were starfaring people.
Yeah.
Now, think of this quantum computer experiment where it goes back in time 1 second and then go forward 1,000 years,
Could be
which is nothing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about 4,500 years ago, we might be off by 1,000. So go to 5,500 years ago, 6,000. If you're listening to John Anthony West, he thinks it's 34,000 years.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks.
And that sounds so crazy, but then you look at the kind of length of time we've been around, and it's still quite recent.
Yeah, it's still quite recent.
And that lines up with the Sphinx, doesn't it? With the kind of that's the processional cycle.
How much evidence of a quantum computer from 34,000 years ago would be left? Right. So if we did get pelted by comets, which we know happened, that's a fact.
I saw an estimate, I think it was from NASA, but I'm not 100% sure, but it was from a kind of scientific journal that Earth is hit by what they define as a cataclysmic impact every 100,000 years. So that's an impact that's capable of wiping out a third of today's population every 100,000 years. And 100,000 years sounds like a long time, but again, we've been around for 300,000 years. So theoretically, we've been hit by a cataclysmic impact 3 times already during our story. And that both has the potential to completely wipe out anyone that was doing anything sophisticated, but also to wipe the record clean.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing. You've got, supervolcanoes, as we talked about. You've got pole shifts, you've got solar flares, you've got glaciers just scraping across the landscape and just completely erasing the record. You've got sea level rise. Sea level rise is a massive one because, where have we always lived? By the coasts. And if you look at the kind of fluctuation of sea level rise over the last 100,000 years, 200,000 years, 300,000 years, it's sea levels going in and out by hundreds of kilometers at a time, and nothing is going to be left.
Right. Wild stuff.
I know, it's crazy.
It is wild stuff. But again, if someone is a historian and they got into this, someone's an archaeologist and they got into this because they have this fascination for it, for them to become professors and then start teaching and writing books about this stuff and not still be fascinated by the new stuff is, to me, so weird. It's like you missed the whole reason why you got into this in the first place. You got into this in the first place is because you're trying to figure out what happened. How did we get to this point? And if there's evidence that shows that we don't have the full picture and you're ignoring that or dismissing that or...
But the thing is, when you go through these kind of systems, and I've sort of got experience of this. Obviously, I was never a professional academic or anything like that. But, I did history for 4 years. I was kind of inside, and I got to the point where it was almost, it was do this as a career, become a professional academic or not. It's very hard to kind of even think this way because everyone around you is thinking within these boxes that we've created for ourselves. And so it's very hard to kind of open your mind. And you kind of have to do it in private as well because no one else is talking in those terms around you, and you're surrounded by people that think in quite limited terms. And I don't say that to kind of be offensive or, doubt anyone's intelligence.
It's the culture.
Exactly, it's the culture. And it means that no one is... It's very hard to think outside the box when you're kind of in that culture. And I think that's kind of what creates these, rigid systems of thought.
It's also kind of fear-based because it's not just discouraged. They'll attack you.
No, they attack each other even when they are within
viciously.
the box. Yeah.
Just to think about the Clovis first issue.
Yeah, that's the best example.
It's the best example because that guy was destroyed. His career
Tom
was
Dillahay.
Destroyed.
And Jack St. Mars and
they were
others.
right.
Yeah.
They were destroyed for theorizing that human beings had lived in North America and that had arrived in North America far before 13,000 years ago. And that was the established timeline of the Clovis people. And then when they found these footprints in New Mexico that are 22,000 years old.
Yeah, and they hated that as well. They hated that.
Of course they hated it. But they hated it just because they were wrong. It's all it is, man. It's human ego is so gross. And this brings me back to psychedelics. Because what do psychedelics do that's most important? Well, the dissolving of the ego. It's one of the most important aspects of it. It makes you realize the folly of your ways. And all of these people that are supposed to be the academics, they're supposed to be the enlightened ones. They're not enlightened. They have information, and they hold that information like it's their identity. And they're right about a lot of things because they have been studying it, and they do deserve credit for that. What they've done is amazing. And the understanding that these academics, these archaeologists and historians can give us of our world and our history is really cool. It's really awesome. But there's a whole lot more out there. And for them to pretend and dismiss people they should embrace people like Graham Hancock. And then they should correct him when he's saying something that is wrong.
Yeah.
But instead of lying and then calling him a racist and saying all these terrible things about him, well, that just shows me that you don't really have an argument. And you're trying to protect your identity. Your identity is the gatekeeper of this information that is not yours to gatekeep. It's for the whole human race to understand what the hell happened.
Yeah. And I wish that, we've seen a surge in interest in ancient history and prehistory and, the story of our species through people like Graham Hancock, who have kind of created a massive interest in this subject. But instead of embracing that, they see it as a threat. And I think that's really sad, to be honest. And yeah, I think it kind of hurts the discipline in general, because if you kind of like embrace that and like brought him into the table and spoke to him and kind of agreed to have the discussion, then it would create a much kind of more healthy debate around these things. And when you talk about the Clovis kind of narrative, it because we think that we know what happened and thus we know what didn't happen, it means that people aren't even looking for stuff that now we know was there. So like they didn't dig deeper than the Clovis layer until very recently, because they knew that humans weren't around until Clovis, but obviously that was wrong. So they could have missed so much stuff, and they probably did. I mean, have you seen that? There's like to be fair, I think Graham mentioned it on the show, the Saruti Mastodon site, which is like 130,000 years ago in America. I mean, if that's human, which it kind of looks like it is.
That's debatable, though, right? Isn't that debatable? Because the way the bones are broken, it could have been from some sort of an accident or an avalanche or something, right?
Yeah, it is debatable, but it could be human. Like, it could easily be human, because it kind of looks like human markings on bones. I mean, so
it looks like scrapings, like they're scraping the marrow out of the bones.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some kind of primitive.
But why couldn't it have been human? I mean, it didn't necessarily have to be Homo sapien, but why couldn't another human species have got to the Americas?
Well, it seems like they certainly could have if they were here 22,000 years ago. Like, what?
Exactly.
What was that timeline? Why'd they figure it out then?
Yeah.
And how'd they do it? Right. That's the question. How'd they do it? And we know that people were seafaring from what was the earliest seafarers?
You could argue that Homo erectus seafared 800,000 years ago, which is just mental.
Could you really?
Well, they reached places that were isolated, and some people say they kind of floated there accidentally. Which is possible, but it seems a bit weird that you'd then like survive and colonize a place.
See, that's where it gets so squirrely. If Homo erectus made a boat, that's bananas.
I mean, Neanderthals were definitely making boats, and this points to how intelligent they were. They were making sophisticated boats and sailing across the Mediterranean and colonizing places like Crete well over 100,000 years ago.
Well, we know that the North Sentinel people, they arrived by boat from Africa 60,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so at least then people were seafaring.
Oh, definitely.
And probably way earlier than that. So why would we assume they wouldn't get to the Americas? That seems crazy.
I mean, bigger journey, to be fair, but then I guess if you go across the top...
Which way you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. If you go across the top and kind of hop down along the coast, then not so hard.
Well, also, there's the problem. It's like if you go back 12,000 years ago, Canada's covered in ice.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's literally all ice. So where are they coming from? Well, they have to be coming from the south.
I guess. I mean, there's the kind of theory regarding the Polynesian kind of island chain, hopping across to Easter Island and then making one last hop across to South America. Or
that's a crazy hop, though.
Going the other way. It is a crazy hop.
But people have always done crazy. Just the fact that they did it in the 1400s is bananas.
That's pretty crazy. And they did that with tech that was, no tech. They just did it with the stars.
Yeah.
And wood.
But then you get to how do you say that ancient Greek symbol, that ancient Greek mechanism that they found?
Oh, the Antikythera mechanism.
That's it. I never could say that. Antikythera. I'll try to remember.
You got it.
But I always forget it. But that thing is bananas. Like that, when they first found it, it just looked like a hunk of shit. Like, what is this? And then when they got a better understanding, I think it was like a long time after they discovered it, that they go, oh, wait a minute, these are gears. Like, what?
It's like
hell
a
is
computer,
this
basically.
2,000-year-old computer.
Yeah. At least, and also that's not the first one. Like, someone didn't just develop that and was like, here we go, I just fucking made a computer. Like, it was clearly like a long history of very, very technical stuff in ancient Greece, and it could well have been the ancient Greeks, but also it could have been like, well, what's the history of this technology? And
more technical than like this modern automatic watch.
Yeah.
Modern automatic watch, if you look at the inside of them, it's crazy. There's springs and gears, and it's all within Like this Seiko is like within, I think it's a couple seconds a day.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
crazy, yeah.
And it's all these little, and it moves. It has no power source other than the movement of your hand.
Yeah.
It's
And the
nuts. And it has a
Antikythera mechanism.
72-hour power reserve. So for 72 hours, if you let it sit there, just from the power of your hand from wearing it for a
Really?
few. Yeah.
That's a cool watch.
Nuts. Isn't that nuts? But
That is
that's
crazy.
normal. That's a normal thing for a modern watch with these little tiny gears. This thing's way crazier than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it's 2,000 years old.
At least.
What do they think it was for?
I think they thought it kind of like tracked the lunar cycles and the kind of elliptical movements of. I'm not
Have you
100% sure,
seen the 3D AI representation of what it looked like when it
Yeah.
was fully done? See if you can find that, because it's that's the most eye-opening of it. Because you're bringing this back to the time of Christ, and someone made a computer during the
Yeah.
time of Christ. Like, okay, what are we missing? Like, Graham's quote is the best. I love this quote. We are a species with amnesia.
100%.
100%. Yeah. And there's other quote that I really love. Things just keep getting older.
And things do keep getting older.
They keep getting older. Yeah. And this is something that people resist for some strange reason. And I don't understand it. I think it's just because it's attached to these folks like Graham.
Yeah, that's the one.
Look at it. That's nuts. That's what it used to look like.
This is a modern reproduction of it.
Oh, right. But that is what it used to look like, right?
Based off of these
yeah.
pieces.
So,
crazy.
show me the modern reproduction of what it looked like. Just imagine. Okay, someone 2,000 fucking years ago figured that out, and they have these little representations of the stars and the planets, of the sun, and then all the planets surrounded. Like, first of all, how do they know all that? How are they seeing these planets? Like, do they have a telescope? Like, how do they know how many planets are in our solar system? What did you base this on?
And no equivalent technology ever like re-emerged until like the 16th
Right.
century with like Swiss clockmakers or
Right.
something.
So it just makes you wonder, like, how old is that, and what's that from, and what were the was there other stuff like this that we never find?
When I googled first seafarers,
Yeah, I think that's the.
but I don't see the evidence that they have for 700,000 years ago.
I think that's the Homo erectus thing.
And they're crossing I googled it, and crossing the Aegean Sea, it says they might have been doing, which there was some like islands that were protecting it from crazy weather, potentially made it easier.
But
But I don't know what evidence.
that is a crazy thing to read. Some evidence suggests that man may have crossed the sea as early as 700,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Aren't you happy you were born today?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to gut it out,
What, like
tough it out,
take the
living back
boys and
then?
go and cross some fucking
Yeah.
sea in a wooden raft.
Yeah, when
be
you
too
wind up
far.
eating your friend because there's no food left. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that we got as far as we did, but it's really amazing when they find things like that. Is the Antikythera mechanism? I said it right.
You did.
Nailed it. I'll try to remember. But just the fact that we found one of those, and it makes you wonder, like, what they have in Egypt? What did they have 2,000 years before that? What did we miss?
Digging into the stone stuff while you're talking about frequencies, I saw a video recently that doesn't explain all the Egypt stuff, but there were frequencies coming out of these rocks that I don't think everybody is currently like studying. People have studied it. That's very basic, but like there's the King's Chamber and the reverberations that happen. I was reading from Archimedes, I think, this quote here: when the priests sing the hymns of the gods, they sing the 7 vowels in due succession. The sound of these vowels has such euphony, I think that's that word, that men listen to it instead of the flute and the lyre, the lyre. This is from 2000 or 200 BC.
There's like so many ancient sites that are all built with kind of acoustic, like resonance in mind.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting into this. I was trying to find the proof of it. Someone made a video I saw recently where the somatic stuff shows up all over the place in some ancient sites, definitely obviously in churches and cathedrals.
Ooh.
But this is what happens when you like put sand on a plate and hum on it, or put a certain frequency.
Vibrations, yeah.
And how you stumble across this, and it just so happens to be the same thing we're discovering now. Crazy.
What is that image of? What is that golden?
This?
Yeah, what's that?
It's a cathedral. I looked at it a second ago.
Is that in Canada?
No, the article is from Spain.
It's in Spain. Whoa. That is wild.
Okay. I was looking into the oldest doors people found. The oldest door is only like 5,000 BC. It was found in Switzerland somewhere.
Huh.
There's the oldest active doors in the UK. It's from 900 AD, I think.
What are those images of sacred geometry from? And that right there,
This.
Leonardo da Vinci's original drawing of the flower of life. What Da Vinci? What drugs are you taking, son? How is he seeing that? Yeah, well, that's ancient imagery, right? That's sacred geometry. Those depictions have been around forever.
He was a crazy dude, Da Vinci, well, in a good way.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
Bizarrely smart. It's
Very
just-
smart.
It's weird when you have these outliers, these outliers that come out of nowhere, and like he had like a working model of a flying machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had like 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Crazy guy.
And he's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
It's kind of, these outliers that just, how many of them we never heard of? How many of them were from 30,000 years ago? How many, we have such a limited understanding of our history. And I always think, like, if something happened to us right now, what would really be left? The real problem is everything is either on paper, and there's not a lot of it on paper anymore. It's on hard drives. And those things would get cooked.
Mm-hmm.
If there was just a massive solar flare, something huge that took out our power grid and destroyed all of our cell phone towers and all our satellites, no more electricity.
And even if it didn't get cooked,
Yeah.
what would you do with it in 100 or in 10,000 years? If
Exactly.
you found that, you wouldn't know what that was.
You wouldn't know what that was. You would have to devise a new version of Windows to read it. It would take so long, and it would probably have been corroded and wasted away
It wouldn't be recognizable.
long before that. Especially if something happened, it was underwater. Especially if the entire world is on fire because we got hit with a comet.
Yeah.
Like, there wouldn't be much left. And this is like a really shitty way to store information.
It does feel like a bit of a risk, doesn't it?
It's
like
a giant risk.
everything we've ever kind of learned and discovered and thought about is all
Well, you know
just-
what happens when your phone dies and you don't have a backup phone? You're like, oh
gone.
no, I don't know anyone's number.
And we do that with our entire civilization's knowledge.
Right. And so then you would have just stories and myths of what things used to be like. There was an all-female flight crew at Delta. You're like, what? What are you talking about? What does that even mean? They had satellites. What are you talking about? Like, what is the thing is, like, I wonder how many of the satellites would still be in orbit, or whether their orbit would deteriorate and they'd come crashing down to Earth.
I think they would decay like relatively
Right.
quickly. I think. I mean, I'm not sure, but lots of them would. I think. And when we're talking big time scales.
Yeah, let's Google that. How many satellites that are in orbit today? See if put this into AI. How many satellites that are in orbit around the Earth today will be there in 100,000 years? Does Perplexity have an answer for that?
To be fair, I think it's unlikely that anyone else was doing like space travel and stuff.
Unlikely.
Yeah,
Certainly
maybe not
unlikely.
impossible, but I don't think there's anything on the moon, for example. I think we'd probably see that, but
Yeah, that's the weird one, right? There's bases on the dark side of the moon,
Yeah.
and they're watching us. Are you sure?
yeah, I don't think so.
Well, then there's the weirdness of the moon itself, that it's the absolute perfect size and the perfect distance to completely block out the sun.
That is weird, isn't it?
Real
That is super
weird.
weird.
It's real weird because it's not kind of right. It's perfect.
Precise, yeah.
It's very precise. So you would need the precise size and the precise distance.
That is weird.
And there's also the fact that it stabilizes our atmosphere. It stabilizes our environment.
Yeah, I guess the argument for that is we wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Right.
If it wasn't the exact right.
This is the best
Yeah.
answer. It's you might have to read the whole thing, but there's thousands of satellites burning up each year in the atmosphere.
Oh, shit.
Is what I got to the end of.
Oh, so thousands of them crashed down?
For sure. I mean, they.
So how long do they last?
It's the first. That's why I was trying to track that down. The first one only lasted 3 months.
So Sputnik 1, the Soviet Union, in 1957. 3 months later, it fell out of orbit.
It seems like they worked up to about a 25-year rule where they don't expect it to last that long.
Wow.
And it's gonna crash down.
So in 25 years, there's nothing left.
But I was trying to Google
Right.
how long would till the last one. If they stop putting them up, how long until the last one crashes down?
It seems like 25 years.
That's why I couldn't get a good answer that way.
Did you put it into AI?
I didn't because I don't want to. I don't like asking questions you don't know the answer to AI. I like asking questions I know the answer to.
Well, I just like to see how it thinks. I like to see if it's gonna just bullshit you and lie to you, or if it's gonna.
That's why I want to know when it's bullshitting me.
Yeah.
I don't like knowing it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because you just have to trust it.
Well, it's also basing all its information on websites.
Yeah, and I don't know what year it was trained on. I was watching people talk about sports cards. They're like, it's not updated in the last 3 years, so you can't use this data. It's not good data.
Oh, really? Which one was that?
I don't know which one they were talking about. There's so many AI opportunities out there.
It's funny watching people on Twitter use Grok and try to get Grok to say things it doesn't want to say.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, there's an information blockade of what Grok is allowed to talk about.
The thing is, you can kind of trick AI to say whatever you want it to say.
Yeah, I've seen people do that, like trick it into saying, like, how would you make a bomb?
Yeah, and that's almost the bad thing
it.
about it is it kind of becomes your own little echo chamber after a while if you want it to, if you can kind of convince it to.
Well, we've done a really terrible job of taking care of most people, and when then you give these people access to the kind of power that AI provides them, they're going to ask naughty questions.
Yeah.
Because they,
It's great fun, though.
they're not living in harmony.
Yeah.
Because we're a selfish being. We're a selfish creature.
It's a crazy thing, though, the kind of advent of large language models and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, and it's mad.
Well, it's also, we're in the middle of it. It's happening right now, which is real weird. So, like, in our lifetimes, we're potentially witnessing the biggest change to civilization since the pyramids.
Yeah. Even in my lifetime, like, I was born in 97, didn't really have... I had to dial up the internet, I remember when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then, smartphones came along, and then obviously things like AI, and it is pretty ridiculous.
I was 27 years old before I ever got online.
Yeah.
That was when I first got a computer and I got on AOL. You've got mail. I was like, I've got mail? This is crazy.
Yeah.
And you could go to chat rooms and read about stuff, and you could download information. So I'd print stuff about UFOs, and like, this is the future. I'm living in the future. And we're very fortunate, I think, that we got to see what life was like with a primitive use of the internet to what it's become now, to a quantum computer can go back a second in time to, what is coming next. We don't know. What's really weird is, imagine if this has been done before. We're assuming that it hasn't, but imagine if the Egyptians had figured out something similar. It kind of makes sense. I mean, it sounds preposterous that they did, but why? Why, if we can do it? Why, if we can do it? If maybe it's just a thing, if you leave humans undisturbed for a long enough amount of time with food, they start figuring stuff out. If you can keep them from killing each other, and maybe that's the beautiful thing about the way Egyptian technology had advanced, they didn't split the atom. Maybe they figured out something else, that they couldn't turn into a weapon.
Yeah. They were definitely doing some pretty mad stuff. And then if you look at those kind of granite boxes they made, the completely smooth surface, they clearly had some form of technology that we don't attribute to them. I think that's undisputed. It is disputed, but I don't see how you can logically kind of look at what they were doing and not think they had some kind of technology that, we don't traditionally attribute them to. But whether that means they were like some crazy advanced civilization or it was built by some other advanced civilization, that's a bit more hypothetical. But they were clearly doing stuff that we can't appreciate today. So that logically suggests they had, something that we don't understand, right?
Right. And when you find Antikythera from 2,000 years ago, It makes you just really think, like, okay, what did they have? What
Well,
did
ancient Greece was very inspired by ancient Egypt, so I mean, it could have well come from there.
Exactly. Yeah. And we, we're just guessing. We're just lost in guessing.
That's the thing. It's all about interpretation, isn't it? All of history is about interpretation. It's not a hard science like, physics. I mean, physics is kind of crazy too. Although it hurts my head, man. That's too much for me, all that quantum physics stuff. But have you ever heard of the Silurian hypothesis?
No.
That's,
maybe I have. What is it?
It's kind of linked to this. It's linked to this, ancient civilization stuff. It's the idea that there could have been an advanced civilization on our planet, 100 million years ago, a non-human one that was advanced and industrial, and we just wouldn't see any trace because of how long ago it was, and they could have been here, and we just wouldn't know because it's been so long. It's kind of like where I come from with my kind of human idea. Obviously, it's a further time span, but it was proposed by two physicists. Is why I just thought of it just then. It's a guy called Adam Frank and.
I've had Adam on before.
You've had him on?
Yeah.
Adam Frank. There you go. I mean, did you might have talked
We had
about
him on,
it.
Jamie, right? Didn't we?
You can see when
It's
the
a
episodes-
problem. That happens all the time. We're like, yeah, we've had him on. I know we have.
Episode 1130.
I knew we have.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to check because I have been wrong before. Where we talked about a guy. I'm like, who's that guy? And then I talked to him for 3 hours.
I thought you were. I was like, uh-oh.
Okay, it's happened before. But so this idea is that something else other than human beings.
Well, it's just the idea that if it had, we wouldn't know. And because the Earth's been around for so long and complex multicellular life appeared, relatively early in our 4 billion year history of the Earth or whatever, I'm not sure on the dates, but we've been around, the Earth has been around for so long. And we know that intelligence can emerge because it emerged with us and happened relatively quickly when you look at the kind of massive timescale that the Earth's been around and how long multicellular life has been around. So their idea is kind of like, well, what if, a civilization in the kind of era of the dinosaurs had, become very advanced and an industrial society? And they say we would see absolutely no evidence. Like, when I'm talking about human civilization, we would see some potential evidence, like, rock, carved stone or whatever. But they would say you wouldn't even see the nuclear waste deposits because it's that long ago that nothing would survive. And then I think about that and I think, well, isn't it almost more likely that something did happen, considering we know that intelligence can emerge relatively quickly? Multicellular life has been on the planet for so long.
Limited understanding of the fossil record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why couldn't something have happened before? And then you start getting a bit, stoner about it, and you start thinking, well, maybe they're still here because they.
That's what I like to do. I like to go interdimensional because I think, well, if you do have these quantum computers that can go back 1 second in time, and you move forward 1,000 years from now, and they're run by AI, what can they do? What do they cease to? Do these beings cease to exist in this dimension? Do they develop the ability to be transdimensional? Do they no longer exist in our space and time? Is that like the emergence of this new life form, and then they observe us? Is that what's going on?
Well, I feel like if you kind of survive, a lot longer than we have, and you kind of get to a different kind of level of intelligence, then why would you need the kind of physical body? Why would you need the physical realm? And why couldn't you kind of diverge different dimensions if such a thing is possible?
We certainly can imagine it taking place somewhere else, on another planet with a similar atmosphere that supports life, and maybe they live in a solar system that doesn't have an asteroid belt.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm sure they must exist where they're not getting pelted all the time. We're just in a shitty neighborhood. We're basically in a neighborhood that gets shot up all the time.
A shooting gallery, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
And imagine them achieving where we are at, but then plus 1 million years, and you can go, oh yeah, well, I guess all bets are off in terms of what's possible. We 100 years ago, people were freaking out if they saw a car. Now we're sending video from a tiny little screen on your phone
across the world.
Yeah, instantaneously. It's all nuts.
And we don't even blink at that. You
don't
actually
even
get
blink.
pissed off if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, fuck, can't I talk to this guy in Australia? And instantly, why's my phone not working?
And people are addicted to staring at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's pulling you into its gravity. It's all very, very weird stuff.
Yeah, we adjust very quickly to
Real quick.
how technology develops, and it's just getting faster and faster and faster.
Mhm.
It makes you think, where will we be in 100 years, in 500 years, if nothing happens?
Yeah. Where will we be? I think we'll be somewhere really weird. But I'm hoping that as we do advance and wherever we're going to be, it'll help us understand where we came from. Like, you know, like if AI and super intelligence starts examining the history of the human race, then things can get very interesting, and maybe it could give us places to look. Like, we need physical, you know, human beings or drones on the ground excavating certain areas. This is like prime place to look.
Yeah, I like kind of flip between like quite a pessimistic outlook and quite an optimistic outlook on these things. Like, sometimes I think like it's just gone and we're never going to know, and we can speculate for as much as we like, but it's gone. And then sometimes I think, no, like, you never know. There's so many places that are just completely unexcavated, completely unexplored, that we haven't looked at, like, you know, beneath the Sahara, on the ocean floor by these could I have some coffee, please?
Yes,
that'd be
sir.
all right, thank you.
Of course.
And there are all these places that, you know, we haven't explored, and as you say, technology like AI.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. You know, sometimes I think, yeah, maybe we are going to make like these massive discoveries that are going to completely shift our understanding of history. And as you say, the kind of Giza, the findings beneath Giza, that could be a moment. And I'm always looking for that. But then sometimes I flip again and think, you know, maybe we'll never find anything. And I just don't know. Maybe I'm just speculating for no reason, and I should just stop.
Have you seen Ben on Uncharted X? He has a very recent video of these. I don't even know how you describe it. There's these underground structures in Egypt that he says are bigger than the Giza Plateau, that are underground.
I haven't seen that. No, I love his channel, but
there's a historical record of these things where people had talked about them, like, you know, way back. Even explorers had visited them and found them to be more spectacular than what is actually on the ground, that the underground thing was even crazier.
And that begs the question, why underground? Why do we find all this underground construction all over the world?
Hey,
whoa,
Jamie.
Was that? And that's his theme music. I even recognize that. Shout out to Uncharted X.
Yes, he's coming on soon to talk about this very thing.
He's awesome.
He's really awesome, and he spends so much time down there. So,
he did something. Are you talking about? He did a video on the kind of
Unknown ancient site. So the unknown ancient site said to be great.